Hi there, this is Alan, website, down there. Right, in this video, if you remember the last video I did, I just showed you how to use newspapers and how to make an interesting base for a project. What I'm going to do in this next part 2 is, it's not going to be a long one, it's just going to show you how I prepared that base that we've let dry for 48 hours. How I prepare it and then make it ready for the next stage, which will then be putting some gesso on. So that's all I'm going to be involved in for this one. It's just a short one. I'll talk through what I'm doing and what I'm looking for and what I want to achieve while I'm doing it, and hopefully you'll get an idea and then it'll help you when you start to do yours. So I'm going to let this next bit start in a few minutes. Okay, well, a few minutes? Right, okay, anyway. I'll speak to you in a bit. Bye. Hi, back again. Now then, for this bit, I've gone handheld, so it's not you, it's me. Because what I want to do is I want to show you things close up as to what I mean when I'm talking about things. So what I'll do is I'll take this opportunity now while it's been handed out to go over the canvas, then I'll shut it down, and then we'll go on to part 3 when I start getting the surface ready. So you okay? So let me just flip this around. That's the screen, and then I can see what I'm doing now. Right. This, can you see here? These ridges. Well, I'm not worried about them at all, because what I'll do is that I'll be addressing them when I get the when I get this surface prepared. Let me just go widescreen a bit more. It's the same, right, and it's the same thing for here. I highlighted this bit here. Can you see where, when I've gone round, I've not quite caught this edge? You know, when I've been painting, it's not quite caught the glue. Again, I'm not worried about it. I could sand it down, or I can glue it. And then, as I say, I'll do this when I put the camera back in its main place. I just wanted to show you. Can you see how these grooves here? I'm not worried. In fact, what I'll do is that if I just swap hands, find my... See, that's all I'm using. It's just an emery cloth. And all I do is we'll just get them down a bit. I'm not worried. It's the same with these edges here, where they might be a bit. Where they're not as flat as the rest. So what I'm going to do is when the camera goes, I'll do it back. Can you see I've scarred it? So what? It doesn't matter. I'm after a flat surface. So if I end up getting rid of some of these ridges and some of the paper to make it flat, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. It all adds to the background. So can you see here? Where that's been ripped is slightly, it's not quite smooth. So let me swap, taking the sandpaper and there we go, that's flat. And it's also given me, if you look closely, look at that image there. Look at that image there. Sorry. Look at these marks here. They're brilliant. They had so much texture, and of course, with using the sandpaper, that as well. Can you see how it? That's giving me so much texture here. It's flat, but it looks three-dimensional. So it's perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut this bit down now, and I'm going to put it back, and then we'll get this whole surface ready for the next stage. So part 3 in a minute. Part 3. Computers. Well, sorry, this is a bit later because my computer has decided to not play games anymore, and for some reason it just won't connect to our booster. So I've been trying to do what you normally do, kick it, shout at it, offer to throw it through a window, but we finally got it working. But I've got the hopefully the IT person who looks after my computers coming around tomorrow, so fingers crossed, we'll get it all ready and I'll be able to upload this video sometime. So it's a bit disjointed, I do apologise for that. It's not normally what I like to do, so let's get on with the what I was doing. What was I doing? Yep, I just cleaned the surface and we're getting ready to prep it for the next stage. Okay, just a little bit of manipulating this camera down so you can see everything. Let's put some light on first so we can see what we're doing, and move that. How's that looking for? Can we see what's going on? Move it in a bit. Right, there we go. Now then, I'm using friendly gesso. You don't have to use gesso, you can use titanium white, and Kelly has put lots of videos out there showing you how you can do this, so I don't want to go through it again because it's already, that's information's out there. Go and visit Kelly's site and she loads of tips and tricks there. Now then, we've got to get this surface now ready for the next stage. So I've got my gesso, I've got my brush, and I've got my baby wipes. Now the baby wipes are for, so you can, when you put the gesso down, right, I'll just show you a bit. Right, I'm just going to take the gesso here and just put it on the corners. I like to hide corners, don't ask why, it's just my thing. We all have our own thing. Now, as you can see, that's quite thick and heavy. So, if I take my baby wipe, I can bring it in so that I'm using the baby wipe as the brush. And so I'm bringing it in. If I think I've taken off a bit too much, I just put a bit more down. Hope you can see this, and I'm not. So I'll just take my gesso again, not using a lot of it. Put it down there so it's level. Then using my baby wipe. Now what will happen is the baby wipe will saturate the paper again, but it will dry. So, and then, because I don't want it to hide, I don't want it to cover everything, but I do want to put a thin coat of the gesso on. So, right, let's go over here. Now I like these here, but I'm just going to dab it on there like that, on the edges, and I'll do the same. I'll just turn it round so you can see what I'm doing, and then just dab there, and then I'll take my baby wipe, that's used as the brush, and then just pull it out. I'm able to bring it out, the gesso, and by carefully manipulating the gesso I can make sure that some of it's covered, areas are black, you know, it's taken out, but see, because I don't really want to go over this burlesque image here, so I'll just put that there like that, there like that, and then bring this out. This is how I go about preparing all the canvases that I do. And just pull this out. Don't worry, so I've dropped the brush, so what? I'm not going to lose any sleep about it. Right. Let's go down here now. I think I'm going to make this quite dark down here. When I say dark, I mean that I don't want any of the imagery from below to come out. I want it to be covered. So, and I'm using the pattern that the paper's created to become part of the image itself. So can you see how, when I've finished, I'll bring the camera closer up so you can see and have a better idea. And work it again, and just bring that out, then just take it all off the brush, and then just bring the brush. You're not dry brushing, but you are dry brushing, if that makes sense. You're just using the very faintest amount and you're pulling it through so that you're covered. Now then, I quite like this image down here, so I'm not going to cover all of it, just that faintest corner. And pull it through, and then quick squish. I come up with all these great things. A quick squish means squish it, move it around, let the canvas be your friend, don't let it be your enemy. Don't think of it as, you know, it's, some people think you can't become part of when you're working with it. You have to be part of your work when you're working at this level, because after all, this is part of you. I mean, it's okay when if you're making a card or something, then, and I'm not belittling cards in any way, shape or form, because I have made tons of them in my time, and I've enjoyed every single moment of it. But to me, when I was making my cards, I wasn't able to put me into it. What I was doing is I was putting somebody else's image into it, but I was trying to make it my own. Does that make sense? Because you have a stamp, and then you stamp that image. You haven't created that image. You create the, how can I put it? You can create the environment, but you can't create the image. Does that make sense? It means that the environment that you put, let's say I got a stamp and it was of a bird. I stamped it. I haven't created that bird. However, I've created the environment that goes round it. So, but with this work here, I am creating everything myself, because the only image that I've used is the paper. But as you can see, the newspaper is going to be not obliterated, but is going to be covered up. And so I'm working on this to make it my own. And so there we go. I hope it makes sense. Well, and I'm not talking drivel, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes when you're there on your own, and you're talking, well, in theory, you're talking to yourself. And you're just hoping that whoever's watching the video can understand where you are and where you're coming from, so to speak. Right, let's just get the, as I say, I do like my corners to be, now I'm a photographer, you won't believe it, vignette, that's the word, vignette. I do like my images to be of a vignette style. So, pull this out. There we go. I think that's it. Oh, hang on, let's just do, I'm not too happy about the top bit here, so just add a bit more and just manipulate it about a bit. You always start thin. You can always add when you're working like this, but you'll find it's very, very hard to take it away. So I like to call it little baby steps all the time. Just use a little bit of paint and just manipulate that little bit of paint as much as you can until it doesn't want to work with you anymore. So I'm happy with the way this is going. I just want to darken my corners as I do, as is my wont, so to speak. And as you can see, I'm using very little gesso. Now this is a very good, this gesso I'm using here is of a good quality. I find that if you're serious about buying gesso, there is very good gesso, and then there's, well, to be quite honestly, there's a phrase that we use here, piss poor. Not very good, the gesso. So, right, there we go. I'll put that to one side and I'll take this off so we can have a proper look. And we have a visitor in the room. That is Thumper. You right, baby? Hmm? Hey, look at me. Hey, Thumper. What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Are you a good boy? You are, aren't you? Yeah, aren't you? Hey? He's rescued, so he fits in perfectly in this house. Right then, as you can see here from what the original, I've taken the gesso and in theory I've just like ghosted it up, but you can still see the text that's below, you can still see some of the selective imagery that's below. I've just covered up what I didn't feel was going to be part of my picture. Now, as you can see this bit here, can you see how the grain of the paper, by using a dry brush and the creases that we had, have become a really nice part of the of the project. And this would cost, you know, how would you do this? You know, and yet all it is a piece of newspaper and some glue that's been allowed to dry. It's like over here as well. We've allowed this, see this? These lines here. They, you know, I can build them into my project. I'm not worried about it, and yet it's fairly smooth. So, right, there you go. That's the base layer that we've done, and we've just gessoed it. And I'm going to let this dry thoroughly, and then what I'll do is then I'll start building up colour. And we'll start building up colour together, and we'll build this image right up to the final conclusion. So I'm just going to put this back. Sorry, my fingers are in the way, and of course I can never get. Well, I'll hold it. So, not a pretty sight, is it? So thanks for watching. Any questions, leave me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I just hope you found this very informative and you're going to go on the journey with me of creating this piece of art. Right, thank you very much indeed. Be kind to each other and keep being creative and share the knowledge. Okay, bye bye.